One of the things that excites me about what God's doing through Scripture Union around the world is the creativity of people. All sorts of ideas, whether it's this Bible Mobile in Austria, which is a bus that goes around schools and youth centres and does all sorts of activities like skateboarding and so on. Or in Switzerland, there's a multimedia Bible presentation exhibition called Cinerama. But sometimes that creativity is a bit sort of harder edged, like in Peru, where one of the big issues they've faced is the kids are living on the street boys, and they've done a lot of work for them, very imaginative work. But of course, a lot of what Scripture Union is about is very straightforward, and you could see similar things around the world. This is, not surprisingly, a youth camp, but it's actually on the shores of the Black Sea in Crimea. Could be anywhere almost, really. These kids in Kenya, similarly, enjoying sitting by the river, having a quiet rest at their camp. One of the great things about SU camps has been the ability to combine fun and enjoyment with encountering the gospel. But of course, the Bible's at the centre of what Scripture Union's about, and in the United States, the E100 Bible Challenge has been growing like anything and spreading around the world to other Scripture Union movements. But of course, Bible ministry takes different forms, not just sitting down with a book or even just working individually, but group work. This is a Bible centre in St. Petersburg, which is the base for all sorts of activities related to the Bible. And in Nigeria, where every year they have a large convention with thousands of Scripture Union members going, this is the conference last year, they've got a target for this year of 1 million Bible reading guides to be sold and used in Nigeria. It's a great vision. But of course, camps take many forms, many kinds of camps. And here's the camp at Crimea. The kids you saw on the beach earlier actually sleeping in these tents. In Armenia, there's this wonderful new campsite right next to a military airfield. In Kenya, there's exciting plans for a new campsite that will be useful for youth camps as well as for conferences as well. In Croatia, the Severin camp has been really used by God over a number of years now. And in Belarus, this house, built from scrap, is the base for a real significant ministry. But of course, it doesn't always work out as we'd expect. And this beautiful campsite in Peru that was given by a very generous donor was literally washed away in the floods last year. And when the donor came to see it, he looked at it and said, well, we better start again, hadn't we? Because things don't always go right in life and in ministry, and Scripture Union is there in the hard times as well as the good times. Last year in Haiti, there was an earthquake, and this led to a great partnership between Scripture Union in French-speaking Canada and the very small movement in Haiti to bring relief to some of the children who'd been affected by the earthquake. And this has gone on and is still going on now in partnership with Youth for Christ as well. Imaginative, generous, really where Scripture Union's at, about focusing on children and young people. Because Orissa in India is a place where Christians have suffered great persecution, and that has affected Scripture Union as well. And again, it's been important that there's been that care from other places as well as from other parts of India for Christians there. A few years ago, the tsunami hit Sri Lanka and India, and that led to ongoing work. And here's a picture of some kids in Sri Lanka in a Bible club following the tsunami. But you've probably noticed that cooperation is one of the threads that runs through that. And here's a camp in Slovakia, which was shared with England and Wales and Slovakia. There's been an ongoing relationship for a number of years now between Christians in both countries. And sometimes the camps have been in Slovakia, sometimes they've been in the UK. But Christians coming together across the world. Another example of cooperation is this Kids Games project in Switzerland. Kids Games is from a number of different agencies, but Scripture Union has been very involved in it. And it's been great to see the way in which people have got involved to bring the gospel to kids who probably wouldn't get involved in church otherwise. Of course, Scripture Union started with children's clubs, and that's never gone away, thankfully. Here in Singapore, you see a great work with children's and families, both in and out of churches. But in Nepal, where things are very different and much tougher for Christians. Still, there's been a great work with what they call VBS, Vacation Bible School, and they've done them with kids from Gurkha families. But they're very exciting and relational, that they involve adults working with kids, getting to know kids, not just presenting from the front. And in Kenya, the same thing has been going on there and is going on there. It's really central to Scripture Union's work. But of course, schools has also been a very significant bit of Scripture Union's history. Here's a group in Kandy in Sri Lanka, clearly keen on their Bibles that they're waving at the moment. But in Jamaica, there's been a long-standing work in schools. ISCF, Interschool Christian Fellowship, a name that's been used in different countries. Here's one of their rallies. You see big groups of kids in. I don't know what the building is, but it's some sort of huge industrial building. And in Malaysia, again, all over the country, there are school groups meeting through Scripture Union. But in Australia, one of the exciting developments has been chaplaincy, where there are literally hundreds of Scripture Union chaplains in schools in Queensland, in Tasmania, and South Australia, and other parts of that country. But I want to finish by just showing you a picture of two people, friends of mine, who I have huge respect for. First one is Orlando from Honduras. This is the most untypical picture you could find of Orlando. The thought of Orlando doing nothing just doesn't really connect with me. But Orlando is from Argentina. He's lived in Honduras for many years now and has seen the development of Scripture Union work through thick and thin. They've faced a hurricane a number of years ago. They've faced political unrest and social unrest. Only last year there were shootings in Orlando's church, which was really untypical, but for him a picture of where things were at in Honduras and a sign of the importance of Scripture Union's work with the next generation. But Leonard McConey is the director of SU's work in Zimbabwe, and he too is someone who has worked in a very difficult situation and continues to work in a difficult situation. Politically, economically, life is hard in Zimbabwe, but almost every week I get an email from Leonard telling me what to pray for, what things are going on in Scripture Union in Zimbabwe. And it is encouraging and it's challenging and it's stimulating because he's not lost his fire. And God is working through him and through others in Scripture Union. So for me, the international dimension of Scripture Union is very exciting. And it's something which runs right through the New Testament, actually, this sense that we're part of a body that is around the world. Paul talked about all these Christians in different places who he loved, who he prayed for, who were evidence of the power of the gospel. And I'm just delighted to see that in Scripture Union as well.